Show. Sailing through the morning light, catching waves with voices bright. Set your course for tales untold, entertainment pure and bold. Come aboard this journey new, stories fresh calling out to you. Saturdays are time to shine, positively Pat's lifeline. Positively Pat's Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer, every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. From epic quest to daily news, listen up, there's much to choose. Every word a gem we share, Saturday we conquer air. Positively Pat's Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer, every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. In every eye. In every eye. Positively Pat's Sim Show. Positively Pat's Sim Show. Positively Pat's Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer, every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. In every eye.
Sims Nation, welcome to the Positively Pat Sim Show right here on WANT Radio and live streaming on YouTube. And if you're joining us on WANT, thank you so much. We appreciate you every single week for the last 2.5 years. It's been quite the ride. And for everyone joining us on YouTube, make sure you jump into that live chat and say hello and join in on today's discussion. My very special guest today, I want to say hello. He is the voice of PCW and, of course, PCW Limelight, coming to you today at noon right here on YouTube. So make sure you stick around and check that out, ladies and gentlemen. I give you the Diamond Standard, the one and only Doc Heywood. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays, folks. It's your friend, the Diamond Doc. Great to be back on the Positively Pat Sim Show for this very special episode, in my opinion, because I'm on it.
That's right. Every time Doc comes on the show, it is a special episode. And he's been on
Very special.
He's been on very special. But today, guys, we are talking about John Cena, John Cena's final match, and the fallout that has happened because of what happened, the ending of that match. And there's been a lot of online discourse, a lot of online discussion. Not only was it the right decision, but also they've been questioning whether the long-standing tradition in pro wrestling, which is basically if you know you're on your way out, whether it's you're on your way out from a company or you're on your way out from the business, which we all know very rarely ever pans out, that the rule is that you go out by putting somebody else over. All right. Now, I've got a list here. We've also, as you can see, the squared circle, the dreaded squared circle is up right here on our YouTube page. We will be using that, but we're not playing a game, so to speak. This is basically so that we have a huge list here of pro wrestlers who had their last matches come and go. And so we're going to go over those and what happened. Who won their last match? Who lost their last match? We're going to figure that out. But one of the things I also want to do is focus on those wrestlers before we do that, on the wrestlers who actually advertised that this was going to be their last match. Because I think that's important to do a distinction between the two. If you're a wrestler and you know you're on your way out, that plays a role in what happens. If you don't know that this is your last match, you don't really you're still trying to play the game, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens and there it goes. It's a different story. So, Doc, I want to get your thoughts first off on the ending of that John Cena match, where, first of all, have you gotten a chance to see it yet?
I have not seen the match in its entirety. I don't have Peacock, and that Saturday I was in San Diego at a Christmas party for Lady Heywood, so wouldn't even have gotten to see it live. But I did catch clips on YouTube. I did see the finish of it, and actually, I loved the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Like even before I heard the commentators talk about it and stuff, I see the meme of John Cena with the smile on his face, and I got it instantly. I understood the smile. I understood the tap. You got me. All right. That man, that was a very humble tap out.
Right.
It wasn't humiliating, but it was like two guys playing chess. You knock over your king because you're in mate.
Right.
Bubba Ray and John Cena have described it as the Obi-Wan smile before he gets struck down by Darth Vader. So for me, as a storyteller, I love it. I love that. Great ending to a great story.
And first of all, I want to say hello to Seth. Seth says, I'm awake early on a Saturday. So it's good to have Seth here on the Positively Pat Sims show in the chat. So welcome, Seth. Join us in on our discourse here. But the thing that's crazy, I mean, if you're in that live crowd, I kind of get the emotion of the moment and how you're like, this is, I didn't pay three grand for my seat to watch John Cena. I mean, I'm just speaking from what they're thinking in the moment, obviously, which is like, the never give up guy tap out. And like me watching it, as soon as I noticed there was that little grin forming, I said, that's it. This is it. This is the moment. The match is over. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a really great moment. And nobody can convince me otherwise. And I think that I can't think of her name right now because it for whatever reason it's escaping me. But she was one of the MMA fighters that came over after Ronda Rousey did.
Shayna Baszler.
Yes, she made a comment on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and basically said, like, tapping out isn't the same as giving up, right? And this match really exemplified to me why I am still old school in a lot of my pro wrestling thoughts, which especially when it comes to final matches. Okay, I am always going to be more old school. That is, if you know this is your final match, okay, and that, again, that's an important distinction. You know this is your final match. The right thing to do is to put over somebody else on your way out the door. And if you go by what happened with Gunther on Monday, what John Cena did and the decision that was made is putting Gunther on this heel pedestal. And he's going to be a kind of untouchable for a while in that role. He's going to get like early Dom Mysterio heat, where, I mean, he couldn't get a word in on Monday. Every time he tried to talk, the fans would get louder and louder. And then he just egged them on. He kept coming back. And his whole promo was just, I made John Cena tap out like a little bit. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, actually, I think perfection almost would have been had Gunther not said a word at all. I think that might have been more perfection. But, Doc, what do you think about the whole what do you think about, first of all, about Gunther being the guy? And then the follow-up to that, and where do you see this elevating or taking Gunther to down the road?
Well, I think it's a very, very good decision. Zach Primetime Reeb, wrong as usual, said that WWE should have put over LA Knight. He said that before the match went down. He was thinking LA Knight should have been the guy. But I think WWE needs that monster main event heel.
Right.
I think Seth Rollins getting injured, they got to slot someone into that spot. Roman Reigns, he kind of flops around. Brock Lesnar's part-time. So who's that top bad guy for WWE? There he is, Gunther. This is the guy who made the never give up guy tap out. This is the guy who ended your hero's career. That's nuclear heat.
Yeah.
You want that. You want to glow. Gunther's glowing in the dark right now, brother.
We got in the chat here. John Cena's tapping out for me was not giving up. It was done out of respect to not only the business and Gunther, but a graceful way to honor those things and his time within the business. And I congratulate Cena. It's a very good comment. Good entry to the chat there. And yeah, I think there's a lot of overreaction to this. I mean, Jeff Jarrett came out and was bashing on it. Just how horrible it was and everything like that. And sometimes you got to look at the source a little bit. And I've never been the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan, but I have respect for what he's done in the business. You know, he's obviously accomplished a lot more things than I have. So, but I think he's wrong in saying that this was horrible and it was terrible. And, there's a lot of people that have actually been saying that it was kind of like the perfect culmination of the farewell tour from a negative standpoint. That the farewell tour was so bad, and, well, how else are you going to end a farewell tour that's this bad? Doc, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the farewell tour? And let's just start there.
Yeah, the farewell tour, I'm a little mixed on it. One of my favorite wrestlers, and he's a PCW guy because I'm a Rick Luxury guy. Rick Luxury has announced his farewell tour. His contract with PCW is up. He's got 4 shows left with us.
Okay.
So he is on his farewell tour. I'm not a big fan of those. I prefer hey, loser leaves town match, career versus career matches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like those are a little bit better way to have someone leave the company. The retirement match, it's kind of like I'm going out on my own terms, but what's the point of that final match then? It's just, well, it's his final match. He's going to be gone one way or the other. He wins, he's gone.
Right.
He loses, he's gone. Big deal. But when it comes to like Shawn Michaels, the career versus the streak, I mean, those are stakes.
Right.
I was highly invested in that because these are two of my favorite wrestlers going up against each other, and one of them is going to lose something huge. And when Shawn Michaels lost, I was probably more disappointed than the fans who watched John Cena lose and tap out. I was heartbroken
Yeah. And
because this was my favorite wrestler, and there was no farewell tour.
right.
This guy had just come back a few years earlier and had been having the best matches of his career, and now he's gone. And I stopped watching wrestling after that because he was the last guy I was truly invested in that was a full-time worker.
Right.
So I like a stipulation match better than the hey, I'm done after this, because it just, I don't know. You've already got the ending before you get the ending.
Right. And chat, we appreciate you jumping in and saying what you need to say. I would love, though, if you're going to give us your I disagree or something like that, give us a little follow-up as to why. I want to know. I would love to know. So, like Grandmaster on there saying I disagree with the tap out. I'd love to know why. It's, I think a lot of what happened in that match was part of a long-term story that was being told, whether on purpose or not. You've got John Cena talking about how his body is starting to fail on him and it's not doing everything he wants it to do. It's, there was a lot leading up to this. And Gunther was telling everyone, I'm going to make John Cena tap out, right? I'm going to make him give up. And I remember when he started getting him in the sleeper holds and everything, and we were joking throughout the match that Gunther is the most annoying video game character during this match because he was spamming moves. You spam the chops, he spammed the clotheslines, and then he was spamming the sleepers because they were working. They were effective. And Cena was doing that old school, and I said, I just want to see this, right? We all knew what this meant. When the hand would drop, and then you'd pick it up, and you do this, and then you'd have, like, Hogan would go side to side, wag the finger, and you got that. But then Gunther kept finding a way and finding a way and finding a way. And it wasn't that John Cena was like, I give up. Oh, let me go. I'm in pain. No, it was John Cena was like, this is the moment. This is it. It's not like he tapped out aggressively, like, get me out of this hold. It was, the time is now. You can't see me. My time is now. I saw it for a great moment. Now, everyone's going to think different. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on it, whether you like it or you don't like it. And I think that's what a lot of this show is going to be, looking at the other last matches, like I said, and kind of going, okay, like, why was this guy allowed to win his last match? Not John Cena. Why is this guy going out the door against this opponent as opposed to this? We'll go. We're going to talk about all that. And Grandmaster says, I'm okay with the farewell tour. The internet says he chose all the wrestlers in it. I think, and we talked about this last week on the show, where there were a few people who were like, why don't more people get farewell tours? And it's like, I think you really, you need to be in that Mount Rushmore conversation to even get that opportunity. And even then, most wrestlers hang on until they're in the grave. Like, they just don't, they're so passionate about the business. It's so difficult to walk away clear-headed like John Cena is. Taker was chasing that dragon for years. And he even at one point left his gear in the ring. Right? At WrestleMania 33, I believe it was. 33 or 34. I think it was 33. He left, was it? Yeah, 33. He left his gear in the middle of the ring. And we all shed a tear for Taker on that day. And then he's back because he wasn't satisfied with the match. So he was constantly chasing that dragon. On the internet, in an interview on Cody's podcast, even John admitted he didn't want that ending, but he said he did what they wanted. You know, and here's the deal, guys. You know, we put so much stock in these wrestlers' shoot interviews, which half the time aren't even shoot interviews. So many times we're just being hook, line, and sinkered by these guys just to get you to click and watch their stuff.
Rule number one, it's all a work, brother. It is always all a work.
Right. It's OBP, always be promoting. Instead of OBS, always be selling. Or always be closing. OBP, always be promoting. Right? And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But you know what? John Cena, there's very, very rarely ever a time when a wrestler has said, okay, I want to go out and win my retirement match. Right? It's the promoter's decision. It's the booker's decision. When Vince was around, it was Vince's decision, like it or not. Vince, like I had Universal on here last week who said that it was Undertaker chose Brock or something like that. And it's like, or there was something he said, and I was like, but it was Vince's call. Vince is the one who made the decision for Brock to end the streak, and Taker has said that on numerous occasions. Vince has said that. But, I mean, can I take them at their word? You know, like who? The thing about pro wrestling is who the hell knows what's real and what's not real, and that's the beauty of pro wrestling. And we react emotionally, which is great. And my wife, like I've always told my wife, when something bad happens to one of her favorites, SummerSlam, CM Punk beats Gunther, wins the world title, and 5 minutes later, Seth Rollins cashes in. My wife storms out of here in a huff. And I'm like, I know it sucks. I know it sucks. But in pro wrestling, there's always tomorrow. There's always the chase to get the babyface back, to get him over, to get him back to the title. That's what makes it so much fun, so exciting. Doc, what are your thoughts on this? Like, you know, the idea of, you know, we bash on Hogan for creative control, and yet we're bleeding hearts for John Cena not wanting to do the honors on the way out. Like, what do you think about it?
Yeah, again, whether what he said on Cody's podcast is true or not, who can say? That's a TKO property.
Right.
It's owned by WWE. So I look at those as that's all a work.
Yeah.
It's all part of the story. My thoughts about this and John Cena. This was the first time, and this is one of the big problems I had with John Cena's character as the babyface, is he stood for hustle, loyalty, respect, and never give up.
Right.
But those things were never integral to his storylines, to his matches. And so I felt as a character, that's one of the reasons I didn't gravitate to him as the babyface John Cena. I was all about the doctor of thugonomics, word life, brother. So this was the first time that that challenge of hustle, loyalty, respect, never give up kind of mattered. And it was the last one. And so okay, now the babyface John Cena makes sense because he's had this whole career of never give up, and now he gives up. That's a good capstone.
Right.
That actually makes me want to go back and watch more of his matches because okay, it took him a while, but they finally told that story.
Right. Yeah. And
And that's the way you end that story.
Right.
That's the only way that story can end.
right. And here's so you made a good point. So in my point of view of when we've talked about this on the Warriors Unleashed show, I've talked about this on this show. The idea here, it's John says never give up. John doesn't say never fall down. John doesn't never say never have setbacks, right? And again, going back to Shayna Baszler, tapping out doesn't necessarily mean giving up. But this is the end of the road, but it's not the end of John Cena's life. It's not like he's giving up on life. He's still going to go out and have a successful career. He's doing well as Peacemaker. I'm sure he's got plenty of other movie projects in the works. John Cena is going to live his best life going forward. How many of us can say we're going to go out and live that kind of life from here on out? You know what I mean? Like, what did he really give up? He tapped out with a smile on his face to end a match, like you said, in very Obi-Wan Kenobi fashion. I'm taking the blow here for the future. Obi-Wan did that because he knew that at the end of the day, he was going to be what? I was going to be more powerful than you could possibly imagine. So, yeah, it sucked in the moment when Obi-Wan got struck down. But at the end of the day, it was the right call. It was the right decision. And if Gunther goes on to become one of the biggest heels in the business and gets nuclear heat and becomes a monster in the division like we want him and need him to be, then it worked. Then it worked. And I still think, and I said this on my reaction show, immediately after the match, I came online. I did a live reaction show. I'll say this again. If you're looking for a reason to get Triple H on television, you just found your reason. Triple H could be this generation's Mr. McMahon by using the John Cena match. And he could come out and say, John, I made John tap out. Cena didn't want to use whatever this is. Break down that fourth wall. It was me. It was my decision. It was me, Austin. It was my decision to end it right there. He could even come out and get even more heat by saying, you know what? John Cena wanted to wrestle all the way to WrestleMania. I said, no, you're going out like Goldberg on Saturday night's main event. Could you imagine the heat he would get?
I mean, he's already got a lot of heat online.
Yeah.
I mean, MVP's calling him the nose and had a lot of mean things to say about him after John Cena's final match. So yeah, I think that would be a very, very smart move on Triple H's part.
Right.
But that being said, would TKO let him make that decision? Because to a certain degree, you've got this corporate involved, and here's this guy, he's the chief creative officer. Do we want him involved in that way, getting heat from the fans? How would that affect ticket sales? So you've got this corporate monster in the back, kind of pulling the puppet strings that might not allow certain storylines to take place.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can see that, which is kind of like the downside of being part of a big corporate entity like that. You know, and it does kind of suck when you think about it, because it's like if this were old school WWF, you know, Attitude Era, that kind of thing, Triple H right now would be on the the bullet train to being the top authority heel. And I think if that's the case, I think it's a missed opportunity. And when you have heels that have that kind of heat, then that's what's going to get a guy like LA Knight over. Because now you put LA Knight in the ring to face off, not in a match because Triple H can't wrestle anymore, but you put him face to face and he stands up to the big boss man. No pun intended. You're building stars that way. You have to have big time heels. When you put a guy in the ring, and people like to make fun of him, but you put a guy in the ring like Logan Paul, you're elevating whoever he's in the ring with to another level in terms of babyface, because people hate Logan Paul and they want to see him get his butt whooped. Same thing with Dominic Mysterio. You put somebody in there with Dominic, they immediately go to another level in terms of being a babyface. Becky Lynch is getting to that point. Becky Lynch is doing some amazing heel work. I was getting tired of her as a babyface. She turns heel. I can't stand her, and it's perfect. Her online stuff is incredibly entertaining. And look what she did to Maxine Dupree. Maxine is a star right now. And so you got to have, and I think that's the thing that TKO needs to understand, you have to have just as big a heels to make massive babyface stars. Roman Reigns was a massive star as a heel. Cody Rhodes became the biggest thing in the industry because Roman was already number one. He was already on top. You've got to dethrone number one to take that spot away.
And that's something Vince was very good at, was taking the top heels from the territories, bringing them into WWF and throwing them against Hulk Hogan to elevate the legend of Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Hulk Hogan ran through every great heel of the territories.
Yeah.
He ran through Roddy Piper, King Kong Bundy, Paul Orndorff. You can't think of one except for maybe Ric Flair until way into the 90s, because they didn't really have their match in WWF.
Yeah. But who's the guy that really sent Hogan, in my opinion, into the stratosphere? The guy that arguably was the bigger star for many, many years, Andre the Giant.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's how you make legends.
Right.
You make legends with good bad guys.
Yep.
Batman has the best rogues gallery, maybe on par with Spider-Man. Superman, he's got Lex Luthor and Brainiac. Doomsday's a later addition, but that's pretty much it. And that's one of the reasons people don't gravitate towards Superman, is he doesn't have a great rogues gallery.
Are you bashing Nuclear Man from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace? You didn't add him to the list of rogues, my friend.
Far be it from me to bash the Shadow Stevens lookalike who sounds like Gene Hackman in a loincloth. No, I would never do that. Nuclear Man is like the Shockmaster.
Nuclear Man was epic. With his big fingernails of doom.
It's the finger. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
You want believable, challenging monsters, villains, devious bad guys that are gonna challenge your hero.
Right.
Bobby the Brain Heenan was like Hulk Hogan's Lex Luthor. He there's no way we're gonna see Heenan get in the ring and beat up Hulk Hogan, but he keeps finding all these guys to throw at him. And I try and do that in PCW. I'm the Lex Luthor of PCW. I've been plotting schemes for 5 years to manipulate people I would never have a shot against. Even at 43 years old, Zach Reed could still kick my butt. Bad News Blakesley, 6'4", 500 pounds. He can sit on me. I'm done.
Right.
He has sat on me before. I had to go to Mexico and do DDPY for a month. You need good bad guys.
Right.
And I think Gunther is one of the best bad guys that WWE has right now. He has a lot of things going for him. Number one, right now, he tapped out John Cena. Number two, they're doing the foreign heel in a new way, in a different way, but they're still playing on that. Oh, this is that German guy. They come out and they present him as very, you know, in another era, he would have been like, who was the wrestler who was the Nazi?
Well, I mean, the Von Erich was one.
Yeah, so they would have had him come out like Fritz von Erich as
yeah.
a Nazi back in the 50s.
Yeah,
easily, and they're playing into that without putting a big swastika on him.
yeah. And so I think to wrap up the John Cena part, my end thing is, and why I didn't get mad at the end of the match. I'm not getting all pissy about it because my biggest thing is the business and the industry and where it's going as it continues on, because I'm not going to stop watching just because John Cena retires. My biggest thing is the health and the future of the industry, not what happens at the end of John Cena's career. I'm much more invested on WWE going forward than I am anything else. And it's no disrespect to John Cena. It's just, I feel like there's a very overblown reaction to the ending of that match. I think that, and a lot of people, even Universal and Grandmaster in here, are talking about how there's all these videos of fans upset. Yes, and we talked about that. You're there, you're live, you're in the moment. Yes, there's a lot of pissed off people. You know who else were pissed off? People were breaking their televisions when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble. I remember that. People destroying their televisions when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble and not Daniel Bryan. All right? Or Batista. It was actually, I think Batista was the big one. That was the really bad one where it was supposed to, they wanted Daniel Bryan. Doesn't even make an appearance in the Rumble. They booed Rey Mysterio, and Batista wins. All right? And the world lost their collective minds. All right? Sometimes maybe us fans, internet wrestling community, we're just big babies.
Here's what I want to say to the fans who are upset about this.
Yeah.
Be glad. Be glad that WWE got your emotions, because that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They did their job.
Yep.
Not every movie you go to has a happy ending.
Right.
Sometimes you go to a movie and you watch 7, and you come out and you feel grimy and dirty and kind of awful.
Yep.
That doesn't mean 7 is not an amazing movie. That's a masterpiece.
Right.
David Fincher knocked it out of the park with that movie, but I can only watch it every 5-10 years because of how it makes me feel. But it did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
This match was supposed to disappoint you. It was supposed to break your heart.
Right.
And sometimes wrestling needs to do that.
Yep.
Sometimes wrestling needs to make you mad. Sometimes it makes you, yes, we finally did it. Because that's where the sports thing comes in. You go and you watch your team. If you're a Boston Red Sox fan for about 100 years, every season closed with tears.
Yep.
And then you had that one good one. And that was the one you were waiting for.
Yep. And
we need that in wrestling.
We do. We absolutely do. You're 100% correct on that one. And I like that whole thing where it's about emotion. It's about, and I have to go back to, we talked about it last time you were on. When the Montreal Screwjob. How did we all react to the Montreal Screwjob? Everyone was pissed. Everyone, and there were a lot of questions. Was that real? Was that supposed to happen? Was it blah, 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 blah? What did it do? It created the biggest heel in the business with Mr. McMahon. It gave us Austin versus McMahon, which became the biggest feud in the business. And over the years, what has happened? Over the years, a lot of people have shifted their mindset on who was right and who was wrong in that situation. The more we get to know about those behind the scenes things, right? Brett was asked to drop the title before leaving. Yeah, there was a lot of, other circumstances that went on because Brett just was refusing to lose the title to Shawn and refusing to do it in Canada and all that. But a lot of that sentiment has changed over the years, and I'm going to go on a limb and say that no matter how you feel today or how you felt last Saturday, I think that at the end of the day, people are going to look back and they're going to say that's the moment where Gunther became the biggest heel in the business, and it was a good thing. Because that's what it's about. It's, yeah. When Macho Man and Elizabeth embraced in the ring and we all weeped, that wasn't real either. Those two were already kind of on the outs at that point. But we loved it. We loved that moment. And we also kind of shed a tear even for the heel that got beat in a career-ending match against the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, it's wrestling. You said it just right. Wrestling is about emotion. It pulls at those heartstrings. You need to feel. If you're not feeling anything in the moment, good or bad, that's the problem. If somebody wins a match and you went, meh, but I want to get into this. We're gonna jump in here, so you can see there's a little image if you're watching on YouTube of Sting. And the reason I've got that there is we're gonna go over the guys. I've got 5 of them here who advertised that this was their last match. And one of them didn't necessarily advertise it, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first one here is Sting. And the reason why I want to start with Sting over in AEW with his final match is that so many people are using Sting's last match as fodder for why Cena should have won. All right? And I'm going to tell you the opposite. This is just me personally, and then I'll get your thoughts here, Doc. This is what I wrote. The final match was entertaining, and it was a best hits match. And Grandmaster, you know what? You say, unfortunately, I'm disagreeing with a lot of what you guys are saying today. And you know what? That's great. We don't have to agree to get along. We don't have to agree on everything. My wife and I have been married for almost 18 years. There's so many things we don't agree on, and that's cool. As long as we can have a discussion and do so respectfully, that's all I care about. So you disagree with me? Great. Tell me your whys, and maybe you can convince me. Maybe I can convince you, or maybe we can at least just agree to disagree. But anyway, going back to Sting here, I did think it was more of a greatest hits match. Sting's victory was what I like to call fan service, and it didn't further storylines. It didn't help build anyone apart from maybe Darby Allin for the future, but Darby Allin, after this match, ended up he got more publicity from doing his big climb of Mount Everest than he did get off his last match from Sting. So to me, the last match for Sting was just a way of saying thank you, Sting, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Sting deserves to have his moment in the sun in his but that final match could have put somebody else over to a whole new level in AEW, and that's one of the problems I have with AEW is their inability to really build those stars over the long haul. I think they're doing a little bit better now, to be honest. I'm still not a huge fan yet, but there's always time for AEW to win me over. Tony's got plenty of money to keep that company running. So, what are your thoughts, Doc, on Sting in his last match?
Well, it opened up the door for Ric Flair to say what's been going around on the internet is that Sting didn't put over anyone in AEW because no one in AEW was worth putting over. And you open up that door and boom, all of a sudden your entire roster is in the toilet.
Right.
No one was worth putting over. Really? Man, there's a lot of great talent in AEW.
Oh, yeah.
Sting had the opportunity to make a star. Whoever was in the back making those decisions had the opportunity to make someone a real star, make a monster heel, and they didn't. It's a missed opportunity. Just I think I'll probably say it about every one of these where the guy went out on top is it was a missed opportunity to put someone over. And again, if someone had beaten Sting, I would know who was in that last match with Sting. All I know is it was Sting and Darby.
Well, and his kid,
all I know about that match.
and Sting's kids,
Yeah,
that I
Sting's
remember. They were dressed as him.
Yeah, so you remember everything about Sting and his kids and the entrance and all that, but if you're not a huge AEW fan, you don't know who he fought.
No.
I have no idea. I'm sure someone's in the chat going to let me know, but I have no idea. But I tell you what, if Sting put him over, I know who that was. Oh yeah, Sting lost. He lost to Brian Cage. He lost Powerhouse Hobbs. I would have been great with that because those are PCW guys. They wrestled in the Orville Convention Center.
Or what about this? What if Sting, and I agree with Universal, Sting's last match should not have been a tag match. What if Sting put over a guy like MJF on the way out? I mean,
Not that he needs it because he's already good enough.
But man, talk about taking a guy and shooting him in. That's what AEW needs. AEW needs that shot in the arm that's going to send them up and soaring into the strategy. They need people talking. And if you've got the next day after John Cena's last match, the entire wrestling world was talking, good or bad. And what do we say? There's no such thing as bad publicity. People are going to tune in just to see what happens with Gunther on Netflix. The majority of the people that listened to Howard Stern hated Howard Stern. The people that listened the longest to Howard Stern hated Howard Stern. That's a fact. All right? So what happens is people start tuning in, you give them something that catches their eye, and they go, "Oh, well, I want to see where that goes." And they stay fans. Now, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes crap happens. But if you're AEW, you put Sting and MJF. A lot of people hate MJF for good reason. The guy's amazing at what he does on the mic and everything. You put him over Sting, that would have sent a shockwave through the entire wrestling world. And people would be like, what's going on in that AEW company over there? I mean, there's so many better ways I think you could have handled Sting exiting. Now, again, Tony is more of a fan. And then there's nothing wrong with that. Tony, we're fans too. And Tony has a lot of respect for Sting, as we all do. And Tony wanted to give Sting that closing moment to his match that he felt he deserved. Okay, that's fine. But that's short-sighted thinking. And I think the long-term storytelling should have been build Sting, build someone opposite him, they clash, that guy gets elevated to a whole new level. And Grandmaster, I want to follow up with what you said. Even today, no one is saying what happened to Brett was right. Yes, there actually is. There is a very large amount of people out there that have switched sides. Before, it was like 100%. Everyone agreed Vince got screwed. But there is a very large amount of fans out there and wrestlers who back Vince, who say that Brett should have done the right thing on the way out the door. And listening to Brett nowadays is very, very challenging. I love Brett. You know, I'm a huge Bret Hart fan, but Brett is really tough to listen to now. And the more he talks, the more I'm like, yeah, I'll go the other way with it. Like, I just can't. I can't with him anymore.
Bitter Bret Hart is the best gimmick he has
Oh
ever
my
had.
gosh, yeah.
I am laughing at every Bret Hart interview that comes out these days, especially the Shawn Michaels Vince McMahon rumor.
Oh my gosh. That was insane.
I was dying. I was dying.
It was
Brett.
Oh, Brett, you're
That
Brett, we love you, but yeah, the bitterness tour 2025 needs to end with 2026. So Universal says that Tony asked Sting to put over MJF, but Sting said no. Sting picked Darby, but Darby's a face, so hence the tag match. See, this is what happens, though, guys, when you let the talent dictate what happens. The talent's going to do whether you like them or not. I'm sorry, guys. Talent's going to do what's best for the talent, not what's best for the business.
just about everybody, and I'll say this for myself, just about everyone that I've encountered in pro wrestling is a huge mark for themselves.
Right.
I'm a huge mark for myself. Dallas's brother-in-law, Paul Smith, that's one of the first things he said to me. He says, "Oh my God, you are just a huge mark for yourself." And I'm like, "Of course I am.
Yeah.
Who's going to put me over if I don't put myself over?"
Yeah.
So if
And
you're
you
in
have
the
to
wrestling
be.
business, you are constantly trying to get yourself over, trying to put yourself over, because that's the mentality you have to have. And you have to have a booker at the top overseeing everything, going, "Nope. Here's where you got to take the dive for the business, for the story, for this other guy, so that everyone can get
Right.
built up more."
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not bashing any wrestler. You have to have an ego. Chris Jericho said it best, and I'm going to, brace yourselves. I have to use this language. But Jericho basically said, you want to make it, you got to be kind of an a-hole to make it in this business. And if that's what it takes, okay. And there comes a point where you've got to be able to do what is required and what's asked of you, because that's what's best for business and not always what's best for you. Okay. So, and again, I'm not bashing Sting for any of that. Grandmaster, I agree with you. Pat, you may dislike bitter Brett, but as Grandmaster said, you can't argue the facts. And there's a lot of, it depends on whose facts you're talking about. Like, people keep giving me a hard time about facts. And you know what? I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Pro wrestling facts? Give me a break. And people
It's all work, brother.
And what's really funny is I've had people tell me, like, well, the fact is, and then talk about what's going to happen. And I'm like, you can just hold on to that, because we've all been wrong. Everybody. Everyone in the chat's been wrong about stuff. I've been wrong about stuff. You've been wrong about stuff. Because it's pro wrestling. It's entertainment. It is a make-believe world. So the facts, it just depends on who you're listening to, who you're talking to. You listen to Bruce Pritchard, you're going to get his facts. You listen to Brett, you're going to get his facts. You listen to Sean, you're going to get his. Triple H, you're going to get his. Vince, you're going to get his. Everybody has a different version of their story. The only one that I listened to that I thought, you know what, I might be able to take him a little bit more at his word than almost any of these other guys was Briscoe. Jerry Briscoe came on and talked and gave his side of what happened for that. And I was more inclined to believe him than any of the other players in this whole thing. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit put off by the amount of people that keep telling me that my facts are wrong, or anything like that, because there are, like there's so many pro wrestling books that are just littered with lies. Mick Foley, I think, is maybe the most honest pro wrestler, and even then, he's still a pro wrestler.
You can't trust pro wrestlers.
Right.
You can't, because it's all a work. We are always 100% working. Even after you're retired, you're still a worker. Your stories, you've embellished them and added facts and twisted something to make it more entertaining. You meet these guys. I've met Dallas a few times. He's got his bank of stories,
Right.
and they have been crafted and cultivated to be as entertaining as possible, to be brief and easily relatable.
Right.
Are they always 100% true? I don't know. I trust Dallas, but if he's telling a wrestling story, I'm expecting to get worked.
Right.
And let me tell you, if I'm telling you a wrestling story, you're getting worked too.
Well, wait, and
work.
And let's be fair. Even in normal life, we all do it. Because
go on a date.
Yeah.
Go on a date.
We all tell stories, and the majority of the story usually tends to be true. And there's many reasons why we do what we do when we tell a story. Number one, we don't remember every single detail. So we fill in the gaps with things that might be a little bit more entertaining. Number two, we just want to make the story better for the audience that's listening. Right? I mean, and sometimes we do it without even realizing we're doing it, if we're trying to entertain an audience. And that's what these wrestlers are doing when they do these interviews. They're entertaining an audience. Now, I'm not saying they're lying about everything, but are they embellishing stories? Are they maybe filling in gaps here or there to make stories more entertaining? Sure. Why wouldn't you? Because what is the end game here for retired wrestlers? You want to keep getting booked somewhere so that you keep getting paid for these appearances. And yes, a lot of wrestlers go out and they vent about the past. The reason why Brett stands out is because Brett is kind of one of those top tier guys, right? He's not no offense, he's not a Greg the Hammer Valentine venting about the past. This is Brett the frickin' Hitman Hart. This is a guy who's on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore of greatest pro wrestlers of all time. And he's going out and he's still to this day just going off about Bill Goldberg. Right? And it's like, that's the one time where I've been like, I kind of agree with Bill. Bill can only say I'm sorry so many times. And, and everything. It's like, Brett, what's really funny is Brett in the Who Killed WCW documentary series. I don't know if everybody saw that. So Brett is in the match with Bill Goldberg, and Goldberg, and they're locked up, and Goldberg says, "Watch the kick." He tells them the kick is coming, but then Brett goes, "What? What kick?" And then here comes the kick, and it takes out Brett. So depending on who you're talking to, who screwed up? Was it Goldberg or was it Brett? Was it an accident? Like, that's what I'm trying to get at, right? I'm not saying the Montreal Screwjob was right. I'm not coming out and saying that this is right, this is wrong. What I'm saying is that it's really all up to you. Do you believe this guy? Do you believe this guy? Should you believe any of them? Are wrestlers worth believing when they tell you a story? Because they're promoters at heart. They're always promoting. And they're always promoting who? Themselves. Right?
The only thing I believe a wrestler on is when he's talking about aches and pains.
Yeah.
That's
Addiction.
why I trust Dallas on DDPY and stuff like that, because I know what these guys put themselves through. So if he's going to tell me something about that, I'm going to believe him.
Well, now I want to move on to another retirement that, again, it wasn't advertised as a retirement, but The match was advertised. If he lost, this was it. This was his last match, which unfortunately it was not. But this is the match I consider to be the retirement match, the last match of Shawn Michaels in his match against The Undertaker. Streak versus, and Cena tapping is like WC finger poke of doom. No, it is not. Unless WWE starts going down and starts going under, I will never cop to that one.
Bro, what
it's
are
funny.
you smoking, and send me some, please?
It's funny. It's a funny quote. But no, unless WWE starts going down in flames after this and never picks up the nose again, that's not going to be in there. Now, if WWE does, and let's say TNA or the AEW become the big company, then sure, I'll cop to that. But no, the finger poke of doom was not that at all. Cena's tapping was poetic, and the death of the John Cena character was him finally giving up. Yeah, thank you, Doof. Wait, so
Magoof 93.
Doof Magoof, I love you.
That's a gimmick if I ever
I
heard.
love that name. Oh man, you got he's up against Grandmasters, Universals, Mr. Eric Porter, and Doof Magoof. I love that though. That's the guy that's got our back is
Doof
Doof
Magoof, the voice
Magoof.
of reason.
But Shawn Michaels, he said that streak versus career. Shawn Michaels puts on another amazing show. It's right up there with their WrestleMania 25 match. Very, very good. And even his dad didn't want. Who gives a crap what John Cena's dad did or didn't want him to do? My dad didn't want me to lose any of my football games either. But I did. And you know what? I'm tired of the passing out gimmick. So many guys now do the pass out gimmick. And it's old. It's passé. This was different. It was unique. Have you ever seen anybody do a grin and tap out the way John Cena did? It will be memorable for years to come. I get that none of us are going to agree. Like, this is going to be an argument for the entire match, and that's fine. But it's just some of the things that are getting thrown out to support your opinion. The John Cena's dad? Who cares about John Cena's dad? Oh my gosh. When I was doing anything, like, nobody gave a crap what my dad thought. I did. I'm sure John Cena cares. Nobody asked my dad's opinion. My husband don't want me interrupting, but oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny. And again, the whole thing, like, John Cena didn't want to do it. So what? What are we really like? What are we arguing about here? John Cena didn't want to do it. Guess what? You know, I'm going to show you another guy that probably didn't want to do what he did either. His name is Kurt Angle. He's an Olympic gold medalist, one of the greatest in-ring performers in pro wrestling, and he had to put over Baron Corbin. And we all lost.
And they did nothing with that. They did nothing with that, which is the tragedy of it.
No,
that's one that pisses me off.
And I'm hearing more people complaining about John Cena's loss to a guy that's probably going to become the biggest thing in the heel in the business. Then I heard about Kurt. Now, there was a lot of people online moaning and complaining about Kurt, but not at this level. And Kurt Angle wasn't happy about it, but even Kurt's not complaining at this level. Kurt went out and did what he was asked to do. What do you think, Doc, about Kurt and that kind of debacle at WrestleMania 35?
Yeah, that was an absolute wasted opportunity.
Yep.
And I was actually, when I started watching again, I became a fan of Baron Corbin. I I saw his size. I liked his work ethic. I thought he had an interesting character. But then WWE didn't do anything with him. They gave him this amazing opportunity. They put him over Kurt, and then they didn't do anything. And
Yeah.
that's the worst thing.
Right.
Now we can see WWE has plans with Gunther,
Right.
and that's where you go on the other end. Like I would agree with all the fans pissing and moaning if they weren't doing anything with Gunther.
Right.
If Gunther just came out the next week and had a match against some Joe Schmo and maybe won, or maybe that guy beat him. But no, they're doing something with Gunther. This is a tragedy of missed opportunities on an Olympic level.
Right. It hurts, and this is where I'll be like, if in the end WWE drops the ball with Gunther, then sure, I will cop to everything that people are saying about how bad this was. But it's always the end result. It's kind of that hindsight thing. You do think, like, I think Vince wanted to get Baron, or I think he always wanted to get Baron Corbin over for some, he saw something in him. I've seen him headline several main events. I always wanted Baron to succeed because he kept main eventing. And it's like, well, okay, show me something here, Baron. And I like him on Busted Open on over there on Sirius. But, yeah, he goes up against Kurt for reasons. There was no tournament to get him there. There was no storyline reason for him to be there, as far as I remember. And the end result, which is what matters, was Baron went off and did nothing. He kind of got a little bit over with the happy Corbin thing and then just disappeared. And Kurt, you want to talk about a guy that deserved better? I think Kurt is a guy that deserved better than going out to a guy that ended up not getting the rub from it. Going back to the chat here, if we did or didn't do everything our parents wanted or didn't want, we'd not be here. We'd be living the life they want, not our own. It's very common for wrestlers to live their character outside the ring, even after leaving the business. I don't put 100% stock in what they say is truth. I think the problem with Baron Corbin is the timing. The landscape, who was there, seemed like an insurmountable obstacle that the Baron Corbin character could not overcome. Like
That's
him
fair.
getting over on Brock or Roman just seemed so unlikely, to be honest. And that's very, very true. That's very, very true. I mean, you want to talk about, like, a lot of people were like, oh, John Cena's opponent should have been, right? And they're always going back in time. It's like it should have been Edge. It should have been Jericho. It should have been Punk. It should have been AJ. It should have been, which we got Punk and AJ during the farewell tour. But there's one guy who's still part-time but still around that I think could have benefited Kurt on his way out the door and could have used that to still solidify his status as the big beast of the WWE at that time, which would have been Brock. Like, what if, Brock and Kurt have a history? You got the Olympic gold medalist versus the NCAA champ. There was always a natural rivalry there. But yeah, timing. You're right. And WrestleMania 35 was kind of a weird time in WWE. I think they were really trying to get the women's division over, with Ronda Rousey being a huge star. Becky Lynch was a rising star. Charlotte was always reliable in the ring. The women were doing good things, and the men were really kind of lying in the weeds back in WWE. I mean, without Kofi Mania, there was a lot of kind of bad storytelling done during that time. I agree about Angle. Vince never forgave Kurt for going to TNA and having banger matches and wrestling there longer. I don't know. You'd think Vince would have a little bit thicker skin, but probably not. Just because everybody leaves. everybody, but like Taker and Cena, like everybody takes off at some point.
You should know better than think Vince has
I
thicker
know.
skins. You saw
Yeah.
the Monday Night War. Come
Right.
on, man.
Right. Yeah. All right, moving on. I do want to get to Goldberg here. Goldberg's last match was also a Saturday night's main event match, and it was also against Gunther. And this is where I think it's all right to question Gunther over Cena. And I'll tell you why. And this might be, I might feed into some of your guys' arguments here. Gunther's win over Goldberg essentially propped Gunther for a short-term deal. It propped up Gunther leading into his SummerSlam match with Punk, which he lost, putting Punk over, which then led to Seth Rollins cashing in, putting Seth Rollins over even more as that heel. And then Gunther disappears. So I kind of get, if you're looking at what happened with Goldberg versus Gunther versus Cena and Goldberg. Now, there is a difference between the two in terms of, I think the wrestling community as a whole has a lot more love and respect for Cena than Goldberg. And that's no offense to Goldberg. Goldberg has his fans. But had Goldberg done this a long time ago, back when he was still the biggest thing in wrestling, then it's a different story. But now, beating Goldberg in his final match when he's 60? Something like that? Maybe late 50s, 60s, something like that. I mean, it's a little bit different story. And Goldberg didn't go on a farewell tour where he was winning and losing matches here and there. Like, Goldberg just showed up one day, gave a little hint that he might do something down the road, and then did it. And you want to talk about sour grapes. There's another guy who was just like, oh, this was a terrible send-off because of time restraints. My speech got cut off because of, why is I'm Goldberg. My last match is on Saturday night's main event. Like, I should have been on a bigger stage. And so there's a part of me where I'm like, if you're going based off Goldberg's last match and thinking this is what the aftermath of Cena's is, I can understand being a little bit like, yeah, I'm not digging it. What do you think about Goldberg's last match against Gunther at Saturday night's main event?
Goldberg's he's a different animal. Just because of his attitude towards the business, I don't feel that he has the respect for the business that he ought to. Definitely a different understanding than a lot of traditional guys have because of the way he came in and the way he was marketed. So retiring Goldberg, I think in the long run is going to be good for Gunther because now he's got a little bit of a legend killer status. He's retired Cena. He's retired Bill Goldberg. So in the long run, it ends up being a good thing for him. Yeah. In the short term, for me, it was who cares?
Yeah.
Goldberg's retiring. Almost, it's kind of like good. I mean, I enjoyed him back in the Monday Night War when he was first debuted and was murdering everyone and had the streak. And after that, it was great. He comes in, he does a squash match. Okay, that was cool. But that Goldberg getting retired, good.
I thought Goldberg would have had a great send off had his last match been at WrestleMania 33, when Goldberg came in and squashed Brock. Remember that Survivor Series? Goldberg returns, and nobody saw that coming. Just squashed Brock Lesnar, and we all went, whoa, what in the world? Now, I don't think he should have beaten The Fiend and taken the title or anything like that, but you have Brock avenge his victory at WrestleMania 33, and I think that's a great send-off for Brock, or for Goldberg. So I do like, there was something in here that Doof Magoof, my favorite name in the chat, which says he was just in it for the money for Goldberg. Eric Porter said Goldberg was WCW guy. Enough said. Yeah, that's very true too. You cannot deny that. So the thing about Goldberg, I always kind of put him up there with like the Ultimate Warrior. Very similar. You know, neither one of them were overly strong in the ring. A little bit maybe underrated at times if they're in there with the right guy. Like you put Ultimate Warrior with Hogan, Undertaker with Macho, and it was magic. Except for Halloween Havoc. But WrestleMania 6, WrestleMania 7, SummerSlam 92, yeah, in England. Great matches. Great matches. Goldberg, I got to give credit. His match with Hogan at Monday Nitro when he won the title, actually a pretty decent matchup. His match with DDP at Halloween Havoc, great match. Give him the right opponent, Goldberg could go. But both of them were bodies. They had the look that you were looking for at that time and wanted to get paid. And they got paid. So anyway, Universal puts out in the chat here, many wrestlers are retiring this year. And Gunther, Universal says, Gunther will be retiring them all, similar to Legend Killer Randy Orton from the past. So bookmark this. All right, I want you guys to bookmark it. We've got a prediction here. All right, and Universal, that's my man. All right, but here's the deal. I keep getting bashed on my telling facts about the future. So we've got a fact in here in the chat about the future, and let's see how this pans out. Now, I actually like that. I loved Randy Orton's Legend Killer gimmick. The only issue I had with it was it wasn't really killing off the legends because they all, I think, did stuff after the fact. I enjoyed Heath Slater's gimmick better, where the legends were coming back and taking him out. Like I got a kick out of that. But to legitimately be a legend killer and retire legends, I think is awesome. I love that. Imagine the guy.
How cool would it be if Gunther was the guy to retire Randy Orton?
Yeah.
The Legend Killer retires the Legend Killer to cement that status. That's a match I want to see.
And and I'm telling you, you let Gunther run roughshod over everybody. It's already looking like AJ's going to get into a feud with Gunther, right? Sure, let Gunther retire AJ. I'm all for that. Let Rey Mysterio get retired by Gunther. The guy that beats Gunther after he does all of this is going to be the biggest babyface in the business.
What if Gunther retires Rey Mysterio and that turns Dirty Dom babyface? Because he's already over with the fans. It would just take that little push.
Right. The only issue I have with that is kind of that old school mentality in WWE, which I still think kind of exists to a certain extent, which is Dom doesn't necessarily look like...
No, he does not.
Like, he doesn't look like a guy that can compete on a main event level from a physical standpoint, but from a charisma standpoint, from getting over with the crowd and knowing how to get that crowd in the palm of your hand. I mean, you could also make, even though he's older, very much, a lot of people forget how old he is, but that could be what sends LA Knight to the stratosphere. You think that him versus Cena should have been the way to go? I don't. I did it first because I'm just a fan of LA Knight, but I don't, because I think, let's say LA Knight goes over John Cena. Does that really put him over? Or does that just get people pissed at LA Knight for beating John Cena in his last match? And if he loses to John, what does that do for LA Knight? Oh, he lost to the guy on his way out the door. So, yeah, there's a lot going on there. Grandmaster says, I think Dom is retiring his dad in Ray's last match. And either way that you go, whether you go the Gunther route of taking everybody out on their way out the door or Dom being the one to retire Ray, either way works for me. Right? But I don't want anybody else taking out Rey Mysterio. It's got to be Dominic or Gunther, one of those two. It can't be anyone else. That's just me. That's my opinion. All right, I want to move on here because we have to talk about this last one because to me, this was, and I'm talking about Ric Flair, this was the most beautiful ending of any retirement. And unfortunately, Universal's got to go. I love you, Universal. Thank you for joining in. And, come back soon. Join us. Or rewatch us later. I'm sure we'll say more controversial stuff that people are going to get pissed off about. But Ric Flair had, to me, which still stands as my favorite, retirement match. Unfortunately, it was ruined multiple times by matches in TNA, as well as the debacle that was Ric Flair's last match. And so what I wrote here is his match against Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 24, was as close to perfection as you can get with the match and the following night's celebration. So it wasn't where you were having Flair get up after the match and give an impassioned speech or anything like that. He had his moment to acknowledge the fans and his family, but it was the following night on Raw where all of the superstars came out to give their appreciation, show their appreciation, and off camera, The Undertaker as well, because they were still preserving The Undertaker's character at that time. But Ric Flair's send-off was beautiful. And people are always pissed off about John Cena's smile, the little tap out thing. Look at Ric Flair at the end of that match. Ric Flair's telling you, this is it. This is the end. This is over by the way Ric Flair does best, which is weeping. Ric Flair is a weeper, and that's cool. I'm a weeper. I'm a crier. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you less of a man. Ric Flair knew this was the end. Well, should have been. Shawn Michaels created a moment that's in our opening video where he says, I'm sorry, I love you. And then kicks his head off. And I'm sure that there was a group of fans that thought Flair shouldn't have gone out that way. Same thing here. We told a story. The story was John Cena tells you never give up, never give up. Now, Cena didn't give up. His life goes on. He tapped out in that moment. He smiled and he said, it's over. It was poetic. It was beautiful. I loved it. Can't convince me otherwise. Ric Flair. They kept saying, Vince was telling him, you lose one more match, your career is over. You're done. And we built and we built and we built until it was those two friends in the ring, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, in one of the most beautiful wrestling moments I'll ever see in my lifetime. And the celebration afterwards, the next night, they could have done that with Cena as well. Cena didn't get on the mic last week, which shocked me. I remember in my reaction show going, that was the one thing I was waiting for, was Cena to address the audience and the viewers. He didn't do it. He didn't get on the mic. He watched his video, got emotional. I did. I sent the pictures to Doc where I'm crying like a little baby watching that video. And then he saluted the crowd and he walked away. I thought they could. I was half expecting a John Cena celebration on Monday Night Raw, unless maybe that's not what John wanted. Or maybe WWE said we're not doing that kind of stuff anymore because we need to move forward. We need to keep moving on with the business. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. But Doc, your thoughts on Ric Flair on what should have been the end of one of the greatest careers of all time?
Well, I'll tell you, there's only two movies that brought a tear to my eye: Return of the Jedi and The Passion of the Christ. And there's only one wrestling match that has brought a tear to my eye, and it was Ric Flair's retirement match against Shawn Michaels. What a perfectly told story. That I mean, it, in every way, absolutely perfect. Like Kurt Hennig wrote it himself.
Right.
I mean, and for me, that was the last Ric Flair match I watched. I didn't watch him in TNA. I didn't watch his last match in AEW. So for me, that was Flair's retirement match.
Yep.
And there's different ways to retire. That's him retiring from WWE. You go to another territory, you work there. Then you go to another territory, you work there. Rick's from the territory days, so that's how he's looking at it.
Right.
Well, hey, this other territory wants me. I can work again.
Right.
But he did it the right way. He did it absolutely the right way. Sean did it the right way. Vince was helping them write that story, and it just came out perfect. You want to understand wrestling? Go watch that Ric Flair retirement storyline, man. That'll tell you everything you need to know.
Right. We have a question from Eric Porter. He says, when Cena comes back as an ambassador, will the crowd chant, "You tap out," forever endangering his legacy? And I think the answer to that is no. I think the fans are going to hold more of a grudge against I think they're going to hold more of a grudge against Triple H. And they're going to give Gunther a ton of heat. They're not going to chant "You tapped out" to John Cena. They chant "You tapped out" to the heels. Now, if John Cena returns and he says, and he becomes a heel, that would be stupid, then sure, let him have it. But, I mean, we mentioned this because obviously this is still kind of a sticking point to a lot of people. When John Cena turned heel against Cody Rhodes by joining with The Rock and Travis Scott, did that ruin his legacy? No. The fans brought him back to being the babyface halfway through the heel run. From WrestleMania to SummerSlam was our heel run. And then we're back to babyface John Cena. Cena's legacy is not tarnished in one bit. His image, his legacy, none of it was affected by him tapping out at the end of the match to Gunther. They're still going to call him on WWE TV the GOAT, which I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's perspective. And John's earned the right to be called that, but to me, I look at it a little bit different, right? I look at what makes you the GOAT a little bit different. Now, John Cena's got everything it takes to be called that, great, but none of that changes. John Cena's still going to get offers from Hollywood. He's still going to get offers from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He's still going to sell merchandise like crazy. And he's not going to have to do a whole lot of stuff in the wrestling business to achieve all that anymore. John never has to show up on TV again. And he can still sell merch for the rest of his life.
Here's what I'll say about that. If you're a wrestling company, if you're a booker, and you are booking based off of Twitter and social media reactions, you are a friggin' idiot. You need to be basing your stories, everything that you are doing, off of the crowd in the arena at the time. Forget Twitter, forget social media, forget what they are saying on Busted Open, forget what I'm saying right now. You need to be listening to the crowd in the arena. They are the ones who are going to let you know what's working and what's not working.
Well, but
And
yet,
the crowd booing Gunther and giving him that heat lets us know that, hey, what we did there, that worked.
and a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, well, you're just proving our point because after the match, the crowd booed." But if that's the reaction that you want to get, like, I don't agree. I don't think it's true that WWE's blindsided by the reactions. I don't. I don't think they're blind. I don't think they care
Knew exactly what's going to
about
happen.
what other pro wrestlers think. Yeah, they knew they were going to get a lot of pushback. They knew that. If they didn't, I don't know if Triple H walks out in the arena that night. I don't know if Triple H gets up and hugs John and has a good laugh about it. Right? They knew they were going to get heat for this, but they also knew that it was the right thing. It was the right call, the right decision. I mean, at least I believe it. When we look back and we look back in hindsight, it's going to be the right decision. But I also say that money talks with WWE and with pro wrestling. When the crowd continues to sell out arenas, who can argue? If you're still selling merchandise, who can argue? If people are still tuning in on Netflix or on USA or wherever NXT is, because I don't have cable, so I don't know. Or if they stop watching ESPN for the PLEs, if that's the case, if they're losing money, then they can go, our bad, and I will happily change my opinion because I want pro wrestling to succeed. I say that I'm not a big fan of AEW and that they need to fix and correct certain things because they're not getting the same kind of traction. They're not gaining an audience. They're stagnant, if not losing audiences. Now they're getting better, and I think it's slowly maybe upticking. I haven't seen a lot of numbers showing that. But I want AEW to succeed, whether I like it or not. I want it to. I want PCW to be a legit number 2, right?
Me too.
I mean, come on. The competition in pro wrestling has always created the best from the product. Always. Having a solid number 1 and a solid number 2. Look at WWE. When AEW was creeping at their heels, they started doing better. When AEW started falling off, I felt like WWE got a little bit lax for a bit. So, man, I'm telling you, competition, right? And I'll say the same thing with the chat here. Opposing opinions create, in my opinion, a much more entertaining show. When I can argue with the live chat, all in fun, I'm not mad at anybody. If your opinion is your opinion, I'm never going to take that away from anybody. If Doc disagrees with me, he's wrong. But if you guys disagree with me, I got to get one in.
I'll let you have it.
Yeah. Every now and then. All right. Every now and then. All right. We got a little under 30 minutes left in the show here. I want to get to our squared circle. So this is no longer the opinion part of the show, which has been the first hour and a half. Has been our thoughts and opinions. And please remember, the thoughts and the opinions of Doc Heywood are his and his alone, and have no affiliation with the Positively Pat Sims show or Positively Pat Sims himself. In the chat here, I think the fans would have booed anyone after Cena lost. Rey Mysterio being number 30 and not Daniel Bryan. Yeah, we brought that up earlier in the show. Exactly, 100%. Eric says, I do appreciate your perspective, though. I appreciate you, Eric Porter. Grandmaster, Oba going to be one of them? Universal says no. Will be in the Rumble, but not moved up to the main. I don't know if Oba's 100% ready to come up to the main roster just yet. I've been wrong many times before. I think Oba needs just a little bit more work, but I think he's close. Like I said, his match with Cody at Saturday night's main event was probably the most underwhelming of the bunch. It just didn't. It never felt like it got to the gear it needed to get to. It got to first gear, second gear, and right as they were about to go into third, it just ended. And so it just felt weird. So, all right. On our squared circle wheel, we have several names who had last matches that weren't exactly advertised as their last match. And I wonder if anybody knows who their last matches were against. Now, I'm not talking about WWE strictly. I'm talking about in general. This could be independent promotions. I have a lot here. We've got a lot of names on this list. So let's hit that squared circle and find out who our first final match is.
Well, I'm not going to know any of these.
Let's find out. We're starting with Doc's boy here, DDP. All right. The crowd goes wild for DDP. Do you know, Doc, DDP's last match? Do you know what it was?
Well, I want to say it was an AEW.
Yes.
And was he in a tag match with Darby also?
Darby Allin was not in this matchup, no.
Okay.
But I can tell you. But you basically circle gets the square because you at least got the fact that it was in AEW. It was a 6-man tag match where it was Diamond Dallas Page in 2020 during the COVID era with Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they lost to MJF, The Butcher, and The Blade.
Yeah, see, that's a great match for Dallas to go out on. Puts over MJF, The Butcher, and The Blade. Gets to work with Dustin, which I'm sure was a great opportunity for him, considering the family connection they have.
Right.
So yeah, that's a great match for Dallas to go out on.
And I think as opposed to Sting, because a lot of people be like, well, how come Sting, you wanted a singles match for Sting and not DDP? Thing you got to remember about Sting, Sting's been wrestling for a few years. Dallas hadn't wrestled in many years, as his main focus was DDP Yoga and getting that over. And so Dallas hadn't stepped in a ring to do more than a cameo appearance in like maybe a Royal Rumble, the Royal Rumble or the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Those kind of things you can get away with a little bit easier, whereas that tag match I think was good because it allowed Dallas to get out there and do some of his greatest hits, still put over the younger guys. So yeah, I agree. Great one. Here we go. Next one. We had Polka, and then we had Retro Rock. Now, Undertaker. All right, Doc. Undertaker's last match. This one should be a gimme, brother.
It should be a gimme.
It should.
Because I watched it.
Yes, you did.
I watched his last match.
Yes, you did.
But that tells you how memorable it was because I don't remember it.
It was actually, to me, it was wonderfully memorable. It was WrestleMania 36. It was a victory over AJ Styles in the cinematic Boneyard match.
That's right. So I don't even know if I can consider that a match because that's a movie, and so I'm trying to think of him in the ring. So yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
That's a weird one, and it goes back to the COVID stuff. What an awful time that was.
Yeah. But yeah, and I'm a huge Undertaker mark. To me, Undertaker's my GOAT. Undertaker's my greatest of all time. And I will say this. I believe in my heart of hearts that if Undertaker knew that was going to be his last match, he was always, like we said, chasing that dragon. I think if Taker knows this is it, I think Taker would probably be the guy that would prefer to put over the next generation.
Did this
that's
happen before or after that one in Saudi Arabia?
after, because this
Okay.
this was legitimately his last match. When this match happened, I think Taker finally said, like, I can't top that, and I think I'm giving the fans what they deserve from Taker on his last match, and he walked away from in-ring competition at that point. So it wasn't advertised as a last match, but just from what I've seen of Taker, and maybe Vince wouldn't have allowed it. I think Vince might have said no, Taker needs to go out on top, but I think Taker would have, and I think a loss to Taker still would have meant a lot in getting somebody to that next level. So I still stand by going out on your back, as they say. All right, next one. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, it's the Hitman. Bret, the Hitman Hart. Bret's final match.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was when Goldberg kicked him in the head. Didn't he have to retire after that, or did he get into the ring years later?
Actually, here's the fun part. I believe, if my memory serves me, Bret got into the ring one or two times after the kick in the head in WCW, and then competed in multiple matches in WWE, though very much protected, including the WrestleMania 26 debacle that was Bret versus Vince. But his final match, which I actually assumed that was his final match, it was not. Bret's final match is actually a tag team victory with John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez. So the great Mount Rushmore-esque Bret Hart's final match was with John Cena and against, who at the time, let's be fair, Alberto Del Rio was over as a heel. And Ricardo Rodriguez, who probably should not have been in the ring. All right. Here we go. We got a little more time. Let's keep rolling here. All right. Mick Foley. This might be tough because Mick, I'll tell you right now, I've got two on here. If you're talking about, I got kind of a higher profile one, and then a very few people probably know this match exists, but it's his actual final match. So, Doc, what do you think Mick's final match was in pro wrestling?
Well, I want to say his WWF WWE one was against Triple H. But because I remember there was a retirement match where he faces Triple H, he loses.
It was the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, but that's the problem with these retirement matches is they don't always stick. And so, 30, 40 years down the road, you're like, oh gosh, the Alzheimer's is getting me. So I think it was against Triple H, his WWF one, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, no. So here's the unfortunate part. So that would have been in the Hell in a Cell against Triple H. He was Cactus Jack in that matchup. That retirement didn't even last to WrestleMania the same year. It was Rumble, and then I forget the name of the pay-per-view. It might have been No Way Out, I think, something like that. And then a month later, he's wrestling at WrestleMania under the name Mick Foley, which I think is how they got away with it, as Linda McMahon brought him back. That was the McMahon in Every Corner Fatal 4-Way WrestleMania, and with the dumbest name of any match, because usually matches kind of make sense based on the name. Fatal 4-Way Elimination Match. No, you can't have both. It's either a 4-way elimination match or a fatal 4-way. Fatal means one. One fall and it's over. All right, but Mick Foley's last high-profile match, and I kind of don't count him when this is the case, but it's Royal Rumble 2012. But his actual last match, recorded anyway, was for JCW, Legends and Icons, where he lost with Terry Funk, who also just could never retire, to Bob Orton Jr. and Rowdy Roddy Piper in 2011. Yeah. Like, to think that all four of those guys were in a match in 2011. Like, Mick Foley, you can kind of be like, yeah, maybe, but then you know how beat up he is. And you're like, nope. You know, Piper shouldn't have been doing that. Bob Orton, no. Terry Funk should have stopped a long time ago. But that was it. But, yeah, he did make an appearance in the Rumble in 2012. So, Airport.
I tell you what, though, I would have paid money for that match.
Yeah,
Go watch that match, even if they're in their 60s. I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch Piper beat up Mankind for sure.
Yeah, and Terry Funk always takes a good beating. Airport Wi-Fi is slow. Well, Universal, we hope you have a safe flight wherever you're going, and we appreciate you jumping on. It's always a pleasure.
I want to put it in the chat real quick, though. I think Universal works for the same company that Green Shirt Guy does. I think that's how he gets all his inside information. This hospitality company that works with these sporting clubs in Hollywood. So
Right.
Universal, I think I've got you pegged, man.
Yeah, he's calling you out, Universal. The El Gigolo says whoop whoop. All right, next one. Let's go. Let's keep the wheel a-spinning. Yes, Universal, you are correct on DDP's last match. And we get to the original Goldberg, the Ultimate Warrior. One of the biggest stars of the late 80s, early 90s. Do you remember the Ultimate Warrior's final match? I'll tell you right now, it's not WWE or WCW.
Well, then I
Then you have no
don't
idea.
remember it.
Right.
Because the last match I remember seeing him in was that Halloween Havoc debacle with the flash paper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know where he went after that.
Doof Magoof says he's out of here. First time watcher. Have a good weekend and happy holidays. Same to you, my friend. We hope to see you back here. We're here every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. So really hope you tune back in. The El Gigolo, I'm not sure if you know what I'm referring to. Gigolos often use whoop whoop as a greeting. Little education from the El Gigolo. Thank you so much. Undertaker's last match, Boneyard match. Yes, it was. Grandmaster. Sounds good. Will do. And Eric Porter, you are absolutely correct. The Undertaker's last match was against Orlando Jordan. And it was at the New Wrestling Evolution. And he was also victorious. Now, I don't remember, again, sometimes my memory fails me on wrestling from time to time. I do not recall if it was advertised as the Ultimate Warrior's last match. It may have been, but it was definitely an interesting match. Let's just put it that way. Warrior was Warrior. But it was weird to see him in there with his short hair. Like, it's so weird how something as simple as hair can just throw you off from the whole thing. But Orlando Jordan worked his butt off in that match, I will say. But the Ultimate Warrior was victorious. The El Gigolo says, also, your thoughts on JCW Lunacy. Not sure if you've seen it, but considering it was one of the fastest growing promotions this year, would be good to ask you. Yes, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Vince Russo has been doing work for JCW, and I'm very interested in it. To be fair, it's making me. It's doing exactly what WCW did back in the mid to late 90s, which it's making a lot of noise over here. and it's making me go, what in the world is going on over there? Right? It's distracting me at times. Like, I'm more interested in what's going on over at JCW than I am on AEW. Right? And it might not be better or worse or anything like that, but what it's doing is it's grabbing my attention by making a bunch of noise over here. And part of that is knowing the Vince Russo thing, right? How divisive Vince Russo has become in the wrestling community. You like, he's one of those you love him or hate him type of guys. You either blame him for the fall of WCW or you celebrate him for the Attitude Era. Like, it's crazy. How about you, Doc? What do you know about JCW lunacy?
All I've heard is that Vince Russo went over there. Again, so busy with PCW making Pro Championship Wrestling every Saturday at noon here on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. So I don't have time to watch other promotions and what they're doing unless they pick up one of our guys. So if Vince wants to grab Bad News Blakesley or what, the Nightmare Sin, the true king of the death match in the Pacific Northwest, then I would be all about it. So if you got it in with Vince Russo, tell him to pick up some PCW talent and maybe I'll watch his show.
Nightmare Sin, you mean the guy that defeated you on this very program?
Hey, he can defeat me anytime he wants. I do not want to be on his
No.
bad side. I'm very thankful I'm his friend because he's mean.
I'll tell you right now, guys. So watching PCW and watching Nightmare Sin on there is one thing. He was just a Zoom guest on this show, and I was intimidated from miles and miles away. He wasn't anywhere near me, and he intimidated me across the screen.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
He's a scary individual.
All right, here we go. Next one. Universal says, Juggalo, say hi to Ian and Vinny for me. Do you guys know each other? All right, and we're on to everyone's favorite creative control guy, Triple H. Not creative control, but everyone's favorite string puppeteer in WWE right now, Triple H. Do you know Triple H's last match? A lot of people giving Triple H.
Was this the one in Saudi Arabia with DX?
No, it was not.
All right.
See, a lot of people.
I don't know.
A lot of people assume Triple H's last match was also the match against Batista. But no, it was not. And it was not the match in Saudi Arabia. It was, in fact, a non-finish on WWE Raw versus Randy Orton. So, again, though, I have to point out here, Triple H did not think these were going to be his final matches. Triple H forced into retirement. Dusty Rhodes on that wheel. Yes, Dusty Rhodes is on this wheel. Let's try to get to him. But yeah, Triple H forced because of heart issues. So forth, cannot get it back in that ring. So Triple H's career goes out worse, in my opinion, than Cena's. He goes out on a non-finish.
It's terrible when you don't get to go out on your own terms and you had your last match and you didn't know it was your last match.
Right.
That's. I feel for the guy. For the guy.
Mick Foley, Universal says Mick Foley's last match was the Rumble in 2012. Yeah, the only reason I included the JCW Legends and Icons is because I don't like to consider the Royal Rumble or like one of those Andre the Giant Battle Royals as like a last match type of deal. Like, it just feels weird to put that as a match, like a last match. And it's almost like a gimme for me. Like, I'm talking match, baby. All right, here we go. Next one. Booker T. The El Juggalo, let me just say, Legends and Icons honestly sucked in terms of execution, but on paper, it was a good idea. Most of the Legends and Icons events always look good on paper, right? Like there was one, I don't know if it's the same one, but there was an infamous one with it had Yokozuna, Jake the Snake Roberts, and a bunch of other, and Jake was just loaded to the gills back then, and it was bad. So yeah, it was crazy. But Booker T is the most recent that I could find. Anyway, I couldn't find anything after this, and I know, Doc, you're not going to be able to grab this one. I mean, maybe, but Booker T last match, from what I can see, at Reality of Wrestling's Battle to the Bell this year in 2025, as he had a victory over Zilla Fatu.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Zilla Fatu, he's a NorCal guy too. All the Fatus live in kind of the Sacramento area.
Yep.
So friggin' awesome for him. I was kind of hoping we would get to bring him into PCW like we did with Jacob and Journey.
Yeah.
But weren't able to make that happen. So I think that's a great last match for Booker. Reality of Wrestling is his own promotion, and they got a lot of good stuff going on there. So I think that's really good. Go out in your own promotion, man.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Put over your own guys.
Yep. Here we go. Next one. Let's keep rolling. Who we got? Andre, this is another tough one. This took some research.
Yeah, this is tragic. This is going to be tragic because his last match was due to he's just in so much pain and can't continue to work anymore. I probably have no idea who it was against. It's probably a tag match.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. It was a 6-man.
But I'll forget who it was against, but he probably got in the ring for a second, clubbed someone, and got right back out real quick.
So this was in All Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was with Giant Baba and Rusher Kimura, and I hope I don't butcher these names, by the way, versus Haruka Aijin, Masafuchi, and Motoshi Okuma. So Andre's last match was in Japan, where I know Andre was beloved. He was a big deal in Japan, just as much. He was all over the world. But I agree with you. No matter what it was, the whole situation, it was very, very sad when those kind of things happen. All right, moving on. Next one. Let's keep going. Let's see. We can go over. There's nobody coming on after me on YouTube or on WANT. Let's keep moving. Roddy Piper. And I'm just going to go ahead and beat you to the punch here, because Roddy Piper's last match is the exact same as the one we talked about with Mick Foley. It's the JCW Legends and Icons match. And so Roddy got to go out with a victory over Mick Foley and Terry Funk. Let's see. JCW was in a different era back then. They were doing something good with the live pay-per-views, but honestly, they were missing something that the Lunacy era ignited. I think any time, and you can look at WWE, any promotion, when you're relying on your legends, when you're or legends in general, when that is what you're relying on, it's always a dangerous thing in pro wrestling. The legends can be used the way that WWE used to use celebrities, on the peripheral, to get more eyes on your product. But the stars of your show need to be the talent that you're bringing up, right? If you bring in a Jake Roberts to PCW, Jake Roberts is going to bring more eyeballs to PCW, but the stars of PCW are your talent, like Nightmare Sin, right? You use the stars to get more eyeballs on your stars. And so, yeah, and I think JCW understands that better now than they did back then. Back then, you were using stars to try to build a promotion, and that just wasn't going to work. All right, here we go. Let's keep moving. Thank you, Eric Porter. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Thank you. We appreciate you again. Love the debate. Love the back and forth. As long as we can do it respectfully, I'm all for it. Bring it on. Stone Cold Steve Austin. So this is kind of a tricky one here, depending on what your idea of a last match is. So Doc, what do you got?
I'm gonna say his last match is probably more recent than I would like to like to say. I think they probably done something gimmicky where he came in and gave someone a stunner and they called it a match. So, but other than that, I have no idea.
So the match that most people would probably say the legitimate last match is his loss to The Rock at WrestleMania 19. However, this is how I wrote it. Last legit match, lost to The Rock at WrestleMania 19. For funsies, he had a victory over Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 38, which was not just a stunner and out, but it was one of those just get the crowd amped. And so, like, I don't even consider it a match. It was that they put it in the books as a victory for Austin, but for me, his last match will always be putting The Rock over at WrestleMania 19. All right, here we go. Let's keep rolling. We got 4 more. We're over our time here, but that's cool. No problems there. We used to be a 4-hour show. All right, are we getting to Dusty? Yes, we are. Dusty Rhodes. Universal says Dusty's last match was with his kids in a 6-man in FCW. Doc, does that sound right to you? What do you think?
Far be it from me to disagree with Universal.
Right, and
this probably had spoilers for PCW I don't even know about.
That's right. That's right, but he is absolutely 100% correct. FCW victory with Cody and Goldust versus Kalen Croft, Trent Beretta, and Kurt Hawkins. And I would love to see that. I don't know if that's anywhere where we can actually watch it, if it's on the network or something like that. I would love to see that match. I never saw it, but I would love to see Dusty and see what his last match was. And it was a victory for Dusty Rhodes, Cody, and Goldust from my research. So, all right, we got 3 more. We got Hulk Hogan. We got Macho Man, and we got Batista. It's going to be Hogan. So, Doc, what was Hogan's last match?
Man, is this going to be something in TNA?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Although I have no idea who he wrestled against, so I'm going to just guess either Jeff Jarrett or Bubba Ray Dudley. Because I know he had some issues with those guys in the company.
So very popular amongst the wrestling legends to go out in tag matches and 6-man tags. This is no different. Hogan, teaming with Sting and James Storm, defeated Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Kurt Angle. And what sounds on paper like that would have been a ball to watch. Just a really fun one.
A lot of talent in there.
Yes. And if you're looking at, again, like Hogan probably didn't think this was it, didn't think this was going to be the last match. But, I'm sure if you were going to build to a last match, Hogan probably should have had a singles match. But Eric Porter says Hogan had a match at a house show with or are you talking about mine is at a house show? I just know the one I found is all my research pointed at this one being Hogan's last match. I'm sure he did have a match with Sting at Bound for Glory. He did lose that match, so his one-on-one. But the last official match on the record books shows the one I just read to you guys. Triple H's last match was actually in a tag match with Shinsuke Nakamura versus Road and Samoa Joe on a house show in Tokyo, Japan. Interesting. Interesting. That did not come up. I looked all over for that one. So, very interesting to know. Very interesting to know. So, one of my questions would be: was he victorious when he teamed with Shinsuke Nakamura? Did he win against Bobby Roode and Samoa Joe, or was it a loss? I would be interested to know because I will change my fact sheet here. All right, we got 2 more, and then we're going to close out. Here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Batista's final match. This is kind of one of those gimmies because this was definitely kind of Batista talked about it, continues to talk about it. He's very happy with the way his career went out. Doc, what do you got?
I don't know because I was never a Batista fan, so I don't listen to him. If he's in a movie, I hope he doesn't talk and just beats people up. So yeah, I don't know.
So this match was versus Triple H in a loss in a no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania 35.
I remember this one. I think that's when he got his nose ring pulled out.
Yes, it
and
was.
I was like, that's why you don't wear that stuff in
Yep.
the ring.
It's also where he kind of tripped going into the ring, going through the ropes, and he laughed it off. It was a kind of cool little moment there. All right, we got one more left to go here, and I want to spin the wheel anyway, because just so we can hear the music. Yeah, baby. I wonder who it's going to land on. Who are we going to get? It's Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah, Macho Man. What happens if I remove it? Oh, nothing. And we just have a blank wheel. All right. Macho Man's last match. Also TNA from my research. Doc, who do you think? This was another 6-man tag match. See if you can give me at least even one guy who might be in this match. He was a victory, by the way. He won his final match. That you look. I need a hand check because you looked weird there. You're like,
Oh, I was having a stroke trying to think.
Yeah,
about
apparently.
TNA. I did not watch hardly any TNA. I might have seen like an X Division match or two just because they were weird.
Right.
So I'm just gonna try and reach in and pull something out. I'm gonna say Jeff Jarrett was one of the guys in the 6-man.
You're correct. It's TNA. I mean,
Oh!
yeah. So it was Macho Man, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy versus Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Jeff Jarrett.
Again, that sounds like it should be a great match on
paper. I'm
How
sure
did TNA
Nash,
How did TNA screw it up?
Kevin Nash probably tore his quad in that matchup. So yeah, no, I mean, and TNA AJ was amazing. I always love going back and watching a lot of AJ stuff. But that's it. That is our squared circle. And I'm going to reiterate this, guys, one more time for everybody. Like, we love you guys jumping on in the chat. Really love it. I love any kind of feedback that you have. It doesn't mean I have to take it. Doesn't mean I have to abide by it. But, guys, as long as we're able to have a respectful discussion about it, agree, disagree, it doesn't matter. It's all about having fun. It's all about being entertained. And pro wrestling is still my favorite form of entertainment on the planet. It gives me every emotion that I want, from anger to joy, sadness, all of it. It's what makes wrestling so great for me. I will forever be a fan of pro wrestling. I want nothing but success for everyone in the pro wrestling business. And until I die, my dream will always be to step inside a ring just one time. I don't have to do a match. I just want to step inside a legit ring and thank professional wrestling in the most respectful way that I can for what it's given me in my life. And for all of you out there that enjoy pro wrestling, just don't let it destroy your love of it. Whatever happens in any match, whatever happens with a wrestler inside or outside the ring, don't let it affect your love of pro wrestling. And remember that let the feud stay between the companies. We don't need to be tribal. We don't need to be bashing someone because they like AEW or bashing someone because they like WWE. We're pro wrestling fans. Everyone has the right to enjoy what they want to enjoy. They also have the right to think whatever they want to think about how this match ended or that guy's career ended. That's the joy of it. It's the same thing with any form of entertainment. It's all a matter of perspective. And hopefully,
And here's what I'll
yeah.
If you're a fan and you're unhappy with what's going on TV,
Yeah.
WWE and AEW, find your local pro wrestling promotion.
Boom.
There is a good chance that you have a group of young athletes a couple hours away from you that are working hard, working to get to that next level. Find your local pro wrestling promotion, support them even more as a fan, but even more, get involved. If you can do it better, if you can book better, get involved.
Yeah.
Go train, be a wrestler, go say, hey, I'll edit your TV. Be a camera guy, be a commentary guy. Go get involved and help make pro wrestling better. That's what I wanted to do. I was a fan of WWE until I wasn't, and then it was like, hey, I want to get involved with the local promotion and help these guys out.
Yeah. El Gigolo does say in here, to me, in regards to tribalism, some people unfortunately force the hands of people who have been constantly slandered for decades, and that's true. And I'm saying that kind of stuff needs to stop. And it should never have happened. It needs to stop. If you don't like a promotion, like, go by the old school thing our grandparents used to tell us. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. Right? But this era of Twitter and social media has created these keyboard warriors who are constantly out there and have nothing but negative things to say and to offer. And it's sad. You see it across the board. You see it in every major fandom out there. And, part of why I do the show is I'll speak honestly. I'll tell you guys how I honestly feel. But nothing that I say is intended to put anyone down. Nothing that I say is intended to put any promotion down. It's just my honest opinion. And I'll say afterwards, like I did today, I wish nothing but success. I want to see PCW eventually one of these days. I want to see them on television or on a streaming service out, like get something outside of YouTube. Maybe they show up on Tubi one day. Maybe they show up on Netflix somewhere down the road. How cool would that be? Growth. We want the pro wrestling universe to grow. Every one of us that are here today, everyone in the live chat, you have a passion for pro wrestling. You want to see it succeed. And if you want to see pro wrestling succeed, you can't just want one of the companies to do well. You need to want all of them to do well.
A rising tide raises all ships.
Amen, brother. All right, before we take off, I have one piece of business to give you guys, and that is, before I let Doc do his plugs, and that is that we do have our merch store here, and go to positivelypatsims.printful.me. These are just a taste of the products that we have here. We got teddy bears, T-shirts. Going down to the Positively Pat Sims show, there we got T-shirts, hats, stickers. We got jerseys. We got shoes. Look at that. A lot of Positively Pat Sims stuff there. So get on over to... Yeah. Yes, the Warriors Unleashed ones are gray, a dark gray. The Positively Pat Sims show are blue. And then we have I own the black ones that are the Positively Pat Sims, these ones. the Positively Pat Sims pirate logo that we have. I have those. But yeah, the blue ones, man, those are the next ones. I like those. I like that blue. So get on over positivelypatsims.printful.me. This is not for me trying to line my pockets with anything, guys. Everything we make off of our stores goes right back into the program. We put that money into equipment and software and everything we need to be running successfully, because we've had a lot of hiccups over the years, and we have slowly tried to correct all of those as we've gone along. One of the main things I want to get as we go is I want to get a legit camera here, because I use my iPhone to get a good picture here, and because of that, I can't use my iPhone for quick looking up anything. I got to do it in other ways. So I would like to have my iPhone in hand from time to time, and that would also allow us to do something we haven't done in a while, which is take phone calls, make phone calls, which we used to do back in the day. So that would be a lot of fun. Next year, 2026, guys, you're going to want to be a part of Positively Pat Sims here on YouTube. We've got, and on WANT, because we've got the Positively Pat Sims show that's going to continue on. Warriors Unleashed every Friday night at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. That's our inspirational health, fitness, and mindset show. It's going to continue on. Honest Reviews is getting a makeover, and we are going to be relaunching as Positively Pat Sims at the Movies. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about films past, present, and future. And then we're bringing in our fourth show, which is going to be getting my boys Seth and Owen involved a lot more, and it's called Game Night, where we're going to be playing mobile games, video games, especially a lot of the older stuff like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, those kinds of things, so we can see the difference between guys that know what they're doing, like 14 and 17-year-old kids, and me, the 45-year-old. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that show. Doc, it's your turn to plug. You and PCW got a lot of stuff going on. Tell us all about it. Take it away, Doc.
Oh my goodness. Today's episode is round 2 of the PCW Prospect Cup tournament. And, you know, we were talking about tribalism in wrestling. This is our antidote to tribalism in wrestling in NorCal. PCW, along with other promotions in NorCal, SPW, Ugly Dojo, Oasis Pro, Next Level Pro, their best and brightest in this tournament to see who will win the Prospects Cup and then get a guaranteed shot at the Prospects title. Folks, you don't want to miss this. A lot of new young folks you haven't seen before on PCW, or maybe you have. They've showed up on Prospects before, but this is our brand for the young talent in NorCal. So you're not going to see our established guys like Sin or Bad News Blakesley, but you will get to look at the best young talent in NorCal. And folks, it's at noon. PCW Pro Wrestling here on YouTube. You can also find us on the web, pcwnorcal.com, where you can access our shop and get some nice PCW merch. If you're a fan in NorCal or a fan across the states or in Europe, we've got fans all over the place, so check it out. And always great to be here on the Positively Pat Sim show.
Yep, fantastic. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in. Last bit of business here, and that is keep an eye on Spotify. Keep an eye on Apple Music, wherever you get your music, because in 2026, another thing we got coming is multiple Positively Pat Sims albums that we're currently in the process of producing. We have recorded several of them. We got more that we're going to be recording probably today, and I'm producing all of them myself in-house, and I'm looking forward to it. We're also writing for next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, a Christmas album that'll come out next year. But we definitely have 3 that are in the works right now. We've got a contemporary Christian album, we've got a rock pop album, and we've got our album all about films called At the Movies, same as our show. So it's all going to line up perfectly. So, guys, stay tuned here. We got a lot of great stuff coming your way. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Join us next week on Warriors Unleashed. We are welcoming Wushu Wendy, who had one of the most incredible 2025s that I've ever seen from somebody, and it's incredible. And she's going to be on to talk about her year and how you can set up your 2026 to have the same kind of success. And next week on our show, the Positively Pat Sim Show, we are going to be giving you our end of the year awards. That's right. We're going to be coming up with our picks, the legit picks, not Sports Illustrated picks, not the Wrestling Observer picks, not the busties. This is the Positively Pat Sims year-end pro wrestling picks, a wrestler of the year, promotion of the year, all of that fun stuff. So don't miss next year's, because I'm sure it's going to start a whole new firestorm in the live chat of agreements and disagreements and fun debate. So, guys, I'm going to close this out the way I always do. Let's get Doc in here. Doc, you're going to get the second half of this.
Oh, got Rick there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we both have the same catchphrase. Take it easy. And if it's easy,
Take it twice.
take it twice, everybody. So long. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week on the Positively Pat Sims here on WANT Radio and YouTube. Bang. So long, everybody.
The lights are dim, but the room still hums with the echoes of laughter and the moments we spun. Every honest word is like a stone in a stream. It rippled, it lingered, it shaped our dreams.